The birth of a new life is an event full of fascination and mystery. The living creature, hidden, motionless in the silk envelope, now emerges into the light. In the nest of many insects that have a social organisation, the different phases of life work cooperatively. The eggs occupy the bottom of the cell. The grubs need to be fed. The pupa are enclosed in the cocoon and keep growing inside it, until they emerge as adults, breaking through from what has become an unbearable prison. Adults feed the grubs, seemingly with love. Is this always such a tender scene? Always? When a life that is about to begin may bring death to millions of other species, what should we do? Which form of life should we favour? The land bears the traces of a battle that caused many victims. An aerial battle between unevenly matched opponents. March, the end of winter. Among these fertile hills, lit by a sun rising above the sea, something strange can be seen around the apiaries. Many beehives are empty, and there are still the signs on the ground of the slaughter from last summer. Andrea Romano, an entomologist working for the Observatory of Apiculture of the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Food Sciences of the University of Turin, is observing the conditions of the apiary before the beginning of the new season and assessing the damages.
Sono rimaste talmente poche che non sono riuscite a scaldarsi, quindi sono morte di fame e di freddo. Sono sopravvissute alla predazione e non sono sopravvissute all'inverno. Questo è ciò che rimane della famiglia, un pugno di api con al centro la regina, che nell'inverno ha tentato di scaldarsi come poteva, con scorte evidentemente insufficienti, e all'inizio della primavera, quando l'apicoltore apre l'arnia, si trova questa situazione.
If we take a careful look at the nature surrounding us, we will notice that there is always something moving among the branches, the flowers and the leaves. These are the insects. A large part of biodiversity depends on the pollinators. Honeybees are the pollinators par excellence. They fascinate. They are a valuable resource. Many people have heard the phrase attributed to Einstein: if bees disappeared off the face of the earth, man would only have 4 years left to live. In Europe, threats to the honeybees and other pollinator insects are many. Parasites such as the varroa, the use of neonicotinoid pesticides in agriculture, and climatic changes that have undermined the natural rhythms of seasons. A new danger threatens this equilibrium: the Asian predator hornet, the most devastating predator of apiaries. Its scientific name is Vespa velutina nigrithorax. It is a hymenoptera of the genus Vespa that originates in Southeast Asia. It is widely diffused from China to India. In the beginning of the year 2000, it was accidentally introduced into France, and from there, year by year, the species reached Spain, Portugal, Italy, Belgium, Germany and even the United Kingdom. In Italy, Vespa Velutina nigrithorax arrived from France, following a natural path along the coast. In 10 years, it spread to the western part of the Liguria region due to an extraordinarily favourable habitat. A mild climate, the abundance of the vegetation, tons of spontaneous and cultivated flowers in open air or in greenhouses, and therefore lots of honeybees, its favourite prey. Like other hornets, such as our European hornets, Vespa crabro, the Asian hornet's Vespa velutina forages for sugary substances as an adult and needs a great deal of proteins to nurture the brood. The proteins can be found in the muscles of their prey. The apiaries, filled with honeybees and honey, are like a convenient supermarket for the Asian predator hornet. In some areas, the Asian hornets are the real danger for the beekeepers because they are attracted by hives and are not interested in hunting other insects. Their arrival initially caused a slaughter. Whole apiaries were destroyed and beekeepers were desperate. The fight began to contain this predator. Research institutes and associations of beekeepers got organised. With foresight, since the Piedmont region could be the next area of invasion, the Observatory of Apiculture of the Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Food Sciences of the University of Turin presented a LIFE project, obtaining a European grant to develop a strategy to defeat the Asian predator hornet. The LIFE projects concerned with invasive species are one of the instruments that the European Union provides to prevent and fight their diffusion in Europe.
Questo progetto Life Natura è un progetto pilota che ha come obiettivo quello di valutare l'impatto della Vespa velutina, ma soprattutto di mettere a punto dei sistemi di gestione e contenimento della specie.
Life STOPVESPA is a project developed by the University of Turin, together with the Polytechnic of Turin, the Association of Beekeepers of Piedmont, and the Abbey of the Benedictine Fathers of Santa Maria di Finalpia. Its aims are containing the diffusion of Vespa velutina in Italy, implementing an early warning and rapid response system, and developing new techniques to locate and remove colonial nests. Winter is a time of rest. Trees are bare, and it turns out that this is the best season to locate the former colonial nests. Although they still look sinister and big, they are empty in the winter season.
Innanzitutto controlliamo che non sia più abitato, perché siamo intervenuti 15 giorni fa.
Posizione, ecco, ci fa capire quanti nidi ci sono nella zona e in più ci fa avere uno storico degli anni.
Registering the position of the former colonial nests is important to define the areas that are already colonized by the Asian predator hornet, allowing to generate correct provisions about their diffusion. It is also a useful indication of the places where the queens rest in the winter. Unlike a colony of honeybees, which is able to survive the winter as a family, the Asian predator hornet survives the cold season thanks to some queens that have already been fertilized and that find comfortable refuges. In the middle of a hay bale there is amazing insulation, as well as in cavities on the ground, fissures in walls and rotten tree trunks, as well as in attic spaces and in wood piles. In February and March, when the temperatures rise above 13 or 14 degrees, the queen wakes up from hibernation, or diapause, and starts building a temporary nest. Usually this primary nest is found in cities, and in those comfortable places, such as on roofs and in garages and attics. When the primary nest is about the size of an orange, it is large enough for laying down the first series of eggs. The first set of workers will help the queen to expand the colony and build the final nest, which is 100 times bigger than the former. A solution is needed before this happens.
Quando ho alzato gli occhi mi sono trovata persa perché ormai avevo già chiuso tutte le porte, quindi mi sono ritrovata lì e dalla paura non riuscivo neanche più a riaprire per uscire. Solo che quando ho visto il nido ormai avevo chiuso le porte, c'eravamo io e loro.
Andrea Romano and his colleague Antonio Prestia handle a plastic bin filled with carbon dioxide to stun the hornets. They quickly remove the nest from the roof. In this way, the hornets stay intact. Once the hornets have been killed using non-violent techniques, researchers can finally study their internal anatomy in the lab.
Urge metterle più presto in frigo in modo tale che non muoiano, perché appena muore la vespa entra in decomposizione, al che non riusciamo più ad analizzarle perfettamente.
Anybody who loves nature and the protection of biodiversity is never happy to kill an animal. Any animal. But in this case, a choice needs to be made. It would be even worse for the already fragile equilibrium of our ecosystem to let this predator live and grow in numbers. This would be especially hard for the pollinators, including the wild ones, which are an essential part of the environment and of our economy. Unlike with honeybees, which are under the watch of beekeepers, we cannot tell how many wild pollinators are victims of the voracity of this capable predator, which has arrived from the east on the roads of globalization. Dr. Luca Carisio from the Observatory of Apiculture of the University of Turin and part of the Life STOPVESPA staff studies the impact of the Asian predator hornet on the population of wild pollinators, the family of native Apiodea. With the help of little plastic-coloured bowls that look like flowers, he captures the insects, the wild pollinators, that are attracted by the fake flowers. Towards the end of the winter, the new queens constantly fly around the primary nest they have just built. This is the right time to place the selective traps. The best places for their position are next to springs, rivers and rainwater tanks, but also next to the nests, which were located the year before, or next to the apiaries. The trap is very simple. It is made of a common water bottle. A tap, a cap that resembles a plastic-coloured hat, is mounted onto its neck to allow the insect to get in, but not to get out. The best bait is beer, but also water, vinegar and a bit of sugar can be used. Every 15 days, the traps need to be checked and the bait changed. Thanks to the involvement of volunteers and associations of beekeepers such as Api Liguria and Alpamiele that are supporting the Life STOPVESPA Project, hundreds of traps are placed in the area. It's a difficult task, but the beekeepers do it gladly, since the survival of their apiaries depends on the control of the Asian predator hornet. The aims are different. Capture the queens which survive the winter before they raise new colonies. Monitor the environment to better identify the colonized areas. Andrea Romano, coordinator of the field activities, controls the net of traps up to the most inaccessible wood to check the results. Besides placing more traps and controlling the old ones, he locates the traps using a GPS system and traces their distribution in the territory. His friend, Paolo Del Col, a renowned chef but also a passionate beekeeper, helps him anytime he can. Together, they control the bottle traps that hang from the trees, recharging the bait with fresh beer. Just a few kilometers away, Sonia Alavena is assessing the traps she placed on her terraced land in the region of Liguria, in an area known as Latte di Ventimiglia. She's an expert on bee-friendly plants that she cultivates and was the first beekeeper in Italy to spot the presence of Vespa velutina nigrithorax at her apiaries.
Trappola 7, scriviamo che cosa abbiamo trovato dentro. Ci sono 2 mosche e una vespola germanica e poi le 2 velutine. La birra è la più selettiva, non vuol dire che è selettiva in assoluto, ma a confronto a certe altre cose che si possono mettere nelle trappole, la birra è pulita, non è appiccicosa. Quando tu svuoti vedi immediatamente il contenuto, se ci metti però sciroppi, pezzi di frutta eccetera, quando svuoti... Comunque abbiamo l'acqua, abbiamo i fiori, proviamo.
In the end, Sonia empties the traps, and she is happy with what she has found.
Ogni velutina è un nido in meno, che queste sono indubbiamente regine fondatrici, quindi 7 nidi in meno.
The day after the positioning of the attractive bowls, Luca Carisio collects the results of what he has captured. The content of each bowl is placed in a single container to facilitate the identification of each insect. He continues his work in the lab at the University of Turin. The small insects captured in the bowls are examined under the microscope, identified using identification keys, compared with the sample collections, and kept in etymological storage boxes. His patient work will help to predict the impact of the predation of the Asian hornets on the population of wild insects in the invaded area in respect to the areas where the hornets are not yet present. A nest in its full development may produce hundreds of queens, which could disperse rapidly. The traditional methods to locate the nests were no longer suitable. A more efficient and precise technological weapon was needed. In order to create an innovative equipment to trace the flight path of the Asian hornet, the etymologists suggested to the engineers of the Department of Electronic and Communication of the Polytechnic of Turin to join forces and combine their skills.
A un certo punto io avevo pensato alla sonda Cassini o ad altre sonde che sono state fatte atterrare, per esempio sulla coda di una cometa, e quindi la domanda è stata: ma perché se facciamo viaggiare una sonda ai confini dell'iperspazio non siamo in grado di tracciare il volo di un calabrone?
In springtime, nature manifests itself in all its ripeness. There are plenty of flowers and insects. In their nests, the Asian hornet population grows rapidly. The colony expands and new individuals emerge continuously from the brood comb. For humans, it's a race against time. Traps need to be monitored alongside awareness campaigns that need to target not only the beekeepers, but also the entire population.
Allora, la regina ha un puntino bianco, quelli più grossi sono i fuchi e le altre sono tutte le operaie che portano il miele.
Qua sono 2 calabroni. Questa qua è il nostro calabrone. Questo qua invece è la Vespa velutina. La cosa che le fa distinguere, però, sono le zampe. Vedete, le zampe sono gialle, hanno la parte finale gialla, invece le zampe del nostro calabrone sono scure. Allora, questi sono nidi di Vespa velutina, ovvero i calabroni, quelli nemici delle api.
Saranno già 200 questo, quindi facciamo 200, 300, 500. Guardate quante ce n'è in questo piccolo. Pensate in questo quanti migliaia.
L'hanno dato è molto evidente quando ci si trova a vedere l'animale in movimento e la banda.
The Life STOPVESPA Project has organised workshops and events in which dozens of people participated to educate members of civil protection, other operators and the general public on how to safely remove the Asian hornet's nests.
Occorre fare molta attenzione e soprattutto dotarsi dei dispositivi di protezione individuale.
Any citizen properly informed, aware and equipped may become an efficient participant in the Life STOPVESPA project. The biggest problem indeed is to locate the highest number of nests before it's too late. Summer. Around the apiaries during the midday hours, the warmest of the day, there is a war going on. A real aerial battle. The hunter-worker Asian hornets hover above the hive entrance. Like drones or war helicopters, they wait for the forager honeybees that are coming back to the apiary, tired from flying, heavier under the burden of the nectar in their ingluves, and unaware that death attends them upon arrival home. They try to pass between one hornet and the other, but they are incapable of doing so. The European honeybee knows well enough how to defend itself against the common native hornet, the so-called European hornet, and against its hunting techniques. But they do not know Vespa velutina, the predator that comes from the east. Its hunting technique is different. The Asian hornet catches its prey while both are in flight. It grabs the prey by the legs and soon lands. The Asian hornet rapidly, with its tremendous jaws, cuts apart the body of the bee. Its head, wings, legs and abdomen, taking away only its thorax, which contains the direct flight muscles, containing the proteins that nurture the larva in the nest. Meanwhile, the other workers build new cells to raise the next generations. Besides reducing the bee population, the attacks of Vespa velutina, each of which might capture a dozen honeybees a day, terrify the honeybees that hide in their hive or on the flight board. This may cause them to stop flying out to find food for their families, Due to the reduced quantity of nectar and pollen, the colony begins to get weaker and weaker. A colony may die out for other reasons. A weakened colony is more exposed to disease and parasites. "22-year-old Lorenzo Viale studies engineering at the Polytechnic of Turin and is fond of music. He plays tenor saxophone in the symphonic orchestra of the city of Bordighera in Liguria, or during other occasions. He's also had a passion for honeybees since his childhood in Sero, a part of Ventimiglia, where he usually goes during the weekends.
Poi però quando è arrivata questa Vespa qua siamo arrivati ad avere una pressione di 40-50 vespe su 4 alveari.
He chose to contribute to the Life STOPVESPA Project to monitor Vespa velutina in the western part of the Liguria region in a rather unpleasant role, an uncontrolled apiary to test the impact of the hornet.
Ma sicuramente ci saranno dei nidi probabilmente qua nel fiume che tendono a fare il nido vicino all'acqua, e poi sicuramente un altro posto dove fanno volentieri il nido è negli ulivi.
No traps have been set and no other control measures have been taken to protect Lorenzo's apiary. This has been done on purpose in order to make a scientific comparison with other areas where the project is fully operative. The year before, Lorenzo's honeybees were totally wiped out.
Avevamo già 9-10 alveari, quindi stavamo già iniziando a produrre qualcosa, stavamo già iniziando ad avere delle famiglie abbastanza forti, e nel giro di pochi mesi sono state completamente sterminate dalla Vespa.
Given the fact that it may take many generations for honeybees to develop appropriate defence strategies to fight this exotic predator, Lorenzo's apiary this year has been reconstructed thanks to new honeybee colonies provided by the Life STOPVESPA Project. This will enable us to predict the impact of the hornet in that infested area.
Per ora sembra che resistano alla pressione della Vespa, non è che resiste per il fatto che abbiano imparato a difendersi o per qualcosa, semplicemente perché essendo famiglie forti di partenza per il momento non sono state decimate via. Però non si sa poi tra un mese come...
In the meantime, beekeepers in France, Spain and northwestern Italy try to react. They put into action methods that may be simple at times, but that can also be effective when the apiary is as small as Paolo's. He simply captured each hornet, one by one, using a net. Others have adopted methods that are perhaps more imaginative and even dangerous at times. Mouse glue traps will work, but they are not selective. Many other insects fall into the trap, many of them useful for the environment. Various ideas and all kinds of techniques have been suggested and tested, but so far the results have not matched the expectations. The main challenge is to locate the nests before summer arrives in order to prevent the proliferation of the colonies next year. Some of these lethal predators fall into the small net again. In this case, they have fallen under the eyes of the etymologists of the Observatory of Apiculture of the University of Turin. The researchers are not going to kill them. The The predator becomes a research tool in their hands, an involuntary traitor to its own species. But there's no time to lose. The trained personnel have only 15 or 20 seconds to act. After months of trials and experiments, and some stings, a technique has been developed for dealing with this predator, which has proven to be dangerous to people as well.
Le difficoltà sono state quelle di capire come fare ad incollare questo tag, soprattutto per fare sì che il calabrone potesse continuare a volare anche per giorni con questo, diciamo, impedimento sul dorso. Le persone che operavano in campo hanno pensato di dotare il calabrone di questo tag senza alcuna anestesia, e quindi sono state applicate, diciamo, delle tecniche di manipolazione che consentono di bloccare il calabrone senza dover somministrare loro né bassa temperatura né particolari gas, e questo si è dimostrata la tecnica più efficiente.
On its thorax, an antenna is applied, a thin wire which weighs a few milligrams, onto which an electronic component, a diode, is mounted. After a few seconds, the hornet is released.
Quando vengono rilasciati riprendono immediatamente il volo e li possiamo ritrovare dopo pochi minuti intenti a cacciare davanti agli alveari come se non avessero subito alcun tipo di trattamento. E attualmente noi siamo in grado di verificare che il calabrone può volare per più di una settimana, continuare a cacciare, tornare al nido, tornare davanti agli alveari. Questa continua attività di volo è quella che ci consente proprio l'utilizzo del radar.
Each antenna generates a signal. The harmonic radar registers every movement of the tagged insects within 500 meters. This system enables the task force to detect the nest without a mistake, as the flight path of the hornets can now clearly be monitored.
Il radar è un'apparecchiatura che può rilevare per più giorni successivi il volo degli insetti presenti nell'ambiente, e se non è possibile rilevare immediatamente il nido, lo si può rilevare grazie alla sommatoria dei voli che questi calabroni compiono nelle attività abituali per assecondare lo sviluppo delle colonie. Quando il progetto Life STOPVESPA è partito, il radar entomologico era un'idea di un'apparecchiatura che al mondo non esisteva. Adesso abbiamo un'apparecchiatura che potrà naturalmente ancora essere sviluppata perché è appunto un prototipo, ma che ci dà già delle ottime prospettive.
The identification of the big fortresses of Vespa velutina nigrithorax won't be the result of a stroke of luck or an accidental discovery this time. In summer, the battle is at its height. This is the time when the male fertilizes the queens and new colonies proliferate. This is what needs to be prevented. Each nest can produce from 200 to 600 queens. Even if only 10% of those that have been fertilized survive the winter, they can form dozens of new colonies in the next year. Their diffusion may become exponential. This is the right time of the year to act. The task force of the Life STOPVESPA Project has moved to the invaded areas. They located and destroyed the nests, also thanks to the help of volunteers, the civil protection and trained personnel. They protected themselves by wearing special clothes.
Ti attaccano, sì, picchiano. Subito agli occhi e puntano.
With the help of a thin tube that is introduced through the entrance hole of the hornet's nest, trained operators disperse in the insides 100 grams of inert powder, to which a ½ gram of insecticide was added. That's a minor dose, harmless to people and the environment, but sufficient enough to kill the entire colony. Thanks to the warnings of beekeepers and the public and the systematic use of the entomological radar, the colonies were destroyed, one after another. To see these extraordinary predators fall to the ground and die may not be pleasant, but it is the lesser of two evils, if one has to choose between the survival of the honeybees and that of their killers. Humankind needs to be aware and to act properly to reduce the consequences of our errors. At this stage, it would be even worse for the environment to let nature, which is by now artificial, influenced by the intervention of man, take its course. Lesser queens are fertilized in autumns, lesser hornets will arrive in springtime, attacking honeybee colonies. Winter is a time of rest. Finally, beekeepers, technicians and scientists can take a pause and count their defeats and successes. The presence of this invading predator in Italy has now been limited. In the past season, a remarkable number of colonial nests, more than 400, were destroyed, though less than in the year before. We cannot drop our guard. Joint efforts are still needed to prevent the diffusion of the hornet. Setting the traps in springtime to catch the queens. Monitoring the environment with the collaboration of the beekeepers and employing the cooperation of the general public. The systematic use of the entomological radar and an early warning and rapid response system with the help of scientists and trained teams. These are the only ways to contain and perhaps remove this invasive predator, product of globalization. Honeybees and other pollinator insects may perhaps return to their peaceful skies and even adapt over time to defending themselves from the killer that came from the Far East.